It's the 1/3 point of the season for the Prototype Cup Germany 2025. And what a season this is turning out to be. We've had 4 races and 4 different winners. We started off in Spa-Francorchamps back in April, where Danny Soufi kicked off his championship campaign with a win. And it's Danny Soufi who starts on pole position for this race 5 of a 12-race season. I had to go back and check my records, actually. Yes, this is the first time Danny has actually started on pole position, but he is leading the way in the championship because he followed up his win in Spa-Francorchamps with a 3rd and then 2 second places at the Hockenheim Ring just a few weeks ago in May. Second race of the season was in changeable conditions again at Spa-Francorchamps. That same weekend, it was Thomas Ambiel who won that one, and Valentino Catalana returns to Prototype Cup Germany, the defending champion, with a win in race 1 at Hockenheim. The second race was won by Mathis Pluschkull and Max Angelard, a potent duo. And there is Max Angelard, who lines up 4th on the grid for this race 5 of the season. So Valentino Catalana is the defending champion. He won it with Marcus Pommer, you'll remember, last year. He wasn't at the opening round in Spa-Francorchamps, but he certainly was there at Hockenheim with that win, and then a mechanical issue in the second race at Hockenheim saw him bring it home in 8th place. But it's Danny Soufi along with Pavel Lefterov, and those of you who are big fans, some great graffiti on the back of the car there, those who are big fans of the ADAC GT4 Germany will certainly recognize the name Pavel Lefterov, because he has been a long-time protagonist in that series. Well, now he's arrived in the mighty LMP3s of Prototype Cup Germany, and he is celebrating that along with Danny Soufi by leading the championship by 10 points. Another driver who's come from GT4 Germany, Mathis Pluschkull, a very useful pilot indeed, along with Max Angelard, who is one of these up-and-coming chargers who has stepped into the seat alongside Mathis Pluschkull and has looked very much at home. They are in 2nd place in the point standings with 71 points, 10 points adrift of Soufi and Lefterov. And then Matthias Jakobsen and Riccardo Cirelli. You'll certainly recognize the name Riccardo Cirelli from last year's championship. Matthias Jakobsen, another of the newcomers, another of the young chargers. They are in 3rd place in the championship. They have 65 points. They have 16 points adrift of Danny Soufi and Pavel Lefterov. Danny Soufi is the outgoing junior champion. He won it last year. He also took his first ever win in the Prototype Cup Germany about this time last year at this circuit, because I haven't mentioned it yet, we are at the Lausitzring. Welcome along, everybody, to this wonderful circuit. We are situated in Klettwitz in the state of Brandenburg in East Germany. We're about 100 kilometers south of Berlin, about 63 kilometers from Dresden. Glorious piece of countryside. We are using this legendary circuit that was originally built primarily to host IndyCar. I'm sad to say we're not using the full tri-oval, but we are using a little bit of it, or more than a little bit of it actually, as we look along the pit straight. That's the exit of turn 12 that you're looking at there, and in towards turn 1. It's a long old stretch, and these cars thunder and make the ground shake as they come past the pits, full tilt along this straight. I reckon it's certainly one of the longest straights that they will race on this season, the possible exception being Spa-Francorchamps. But they look spectacular around here. This circuit, which is 3.478 kilometers around, 12 turns, 7 to the left and 5 to the right. And those of you who are observant will notice they run in an anti-clockwise direction using 2 sections of the legendary tri-oval. So that section there that you see, and then also out of turn 5, little stretch onto the tri-oval, then back at turn 6, back onto the infield section. It's an interesting track. It's a track that creates great racing, but it's a track that is very bumpy. And for these cars that very much rely on ground effect, the bumps play havoc, and they're certainly a real test for the drivers as we start on what will be the first of 2 formation laps. So the stewards and the race directors are giving the drivers a good opportunity to generate heat into the slick tyres and into the brakes. It is a 55-minute race plus 1 lap, but the clock will start ticking down after the first formation lap. So the second formation lap, the race will effectively be underway. The clock will be running, but there will be no overtaking until the end of the second formation lap. It's going to be very exciting. The racing is incredibly close. We have mandatory pit stops. We have a couple of lockups as well as we look at the tri-oval. That was somebody mid-pack there having a bit of a moment, and the smoke rising up into the air. And then we're back onto the infield here. So there are pit stops. There is a mandatory pit stop for all cars. There is a pit window that will open during the race. It'll open on the 22nd minute, and it'll remain open for 10 minutes. And during that pit stop window, every car will need to come in for a mandatory stop. Let's have a look at the grid. Danny Sufi, first ever pole position for Conrad Motorsport. Valentina Catalano. Oh, this is going to get personal into turn 1. Matthias Jakobsen and Max Angelard is in all BWT Mucker row 2 of the grid. On row 3, Zeno Folker, keep an eye on him, another Conrad driver, and Sven Bar, the legendary former GT Masters driver. Mikael Herrick lines up alongside Thomas Ambiel on row 4 of the grid. Those are the runners and riders for this race 5 of the season. So I mentioned, as we get to the end of the first formation lap and we go to green flag conditions, the mandatory pit stop that will be open. There is a minimum pit stop time from pit entry to pit exit for all cars, but the minimum pit stop time is different for each driver. So there is a standard minimum pit stop time from pit entry to pit exit of 90 seconds. Now, all the drivers are graded by the FIA. Most of them are silver-rated drivers. There are a couple of bronze-rated drivers in there as well. And depending on the driver or the drivers and the combinations will depend on what the minimum pit stop time is. It sounds complicated. It creates great racing. A number of the cars have shared drivers, and a number of them are single drivers, and that will also affect the minimum pit stop time. It's going to take me the next 55 minutes plus 1 lap to explain it all, I should think. At the moment, we're round to turn 7. So added on to the minimum pit stop time will be an additional pit stop handicap. We'll explain it all as it goes on. It'll all become clear. The air temperature, 17 degrees centigrade. I have to say, it's a beautiful day for a sport of prototype racing. The skies are reasonably blue. We're not expecting rain. Hashtag might not be expecting that tomorrow, but we'll let you know about that one come tomorrow morning. But the cars are now forming up, and if you've never heard these cars live before, they make the ground shake. A 5.6-litre Nissan V8 engine. They're all identical engines producing about 455 brake horsepower. We have a couple of chassis. We have the Ligier and the Duquesne chassis, and just those 2 chassis that are racing in it at the moment. But they provide great entertainment. As we see, Danny Sufi, the championship leader, Valentino Catalano, the defending champion, and 2 very, very hungry BWT Mucker Motorsport cars lined up behind. This is going to be good. Are you ready? Race 5 of the season is go. In towards turn 1 we come, and a great start for Danny Sufi. A bit of a lock-up, though, into turn 1. He goes deep into the corner, shuts the door in the face of Valentina Catalano. It looks like the number 8 car, so Jakobsen into 3rd place. The rest of them just scrapping over the positions. Our main priority is just getting them around this first lap. These are big old beasts, and as I mentioned before, it's bumpy. There are no tyre warmers, so they've got to get the heat into the tyres as well. And you can see the lockups. That's how hard these drivers are pushing on this opening lap. But Danny Sufi has already stretched his legs at the front. Valentina Catalana, who in the last race at Hockenheim was running solo for Badlischer Motorsport Club, he's switched over now and he's got a co-driver, so he's in in the number 80 car, and he's sharing driving duties with Mikkel C. Johansson. He's in the seat that was occupied by Oscar Tunjo for the first 2 rounds. So you may, if you've been following this series, recognize the car, but Valentino Catalano is the driver alongside Mikkel C. Johansson. So here we go. Up towards turn 11, the roar of these cars, the ground shakes, and out onto turn 12, and it's full beans as they head along past the pits. Look at the lead that Danny Sufi has already. It's 2.756 over Valentino Catalano. Next up, it's Matthias Jakobsen, then Sven Bart, Zeno Folker. Great to have him in Prototype Cup Germany, making his debut this weekend in 5th place, ahead of Max Anglard. So not a great start for Max Anglard. He's down into P6. Michael Herrick in the number 1 car in 7th, ahead of Thomas Ambiel. He is in 8th place. So we finally managed to space them out, and we get them all around those first few laps. They shake themselves out a bit. At the moment, Danny Sufi, he'll want to build up as bigger gap as possible, because when the pit window opens, he will have a stop that will be longer than many of the other drivers. Because he is a solo silver-rated driver, his pit stop handicap will be an additional 25 seconds. But on top of that, he has an additional 4 seconds on account of finishing 2nd last time out at Hockenheim. So that's a success penalty that is added for this race only. So it's a fairly lengthy stop for Danny Sufi when the pit window opens. He's not sharing the not sharing the car with anybody else. So he'll want to build up as big a lead as possible before the pit window opens. I'd expect, with an open track in front of him, he'll probably want to pit as late as possible as well, so he has the maximum chance of a gap. Valentino Catalana, sharing Mikkel C. Johansson, both of them are silver-rated drivers, so their additional handicap is 20 seconds, so their minimum pit stop time is 110 seconds. Danny Sufi's 115, so if he wants to come in and out of the pits and keep them exactly in the same position there and now, he will need a 5-second gap on Valentino Catalana. That's going to take a bit of doing. But then the drivers around them as well. Matthias Jakobsen, along with Riccardo Cirelli, they have a minimum pit stop time with an additional 20 seconds, so theirs will be 110 seconds. In 4th place, Sven Bard. He's sharing Maxim Dirks. Great to have Maxim and Sven back on the grid. They too will have a 110-second pit stop time. Zeno Folker in 5th place in the number 22 car. His pit stop time will be an additional 25 seconds. That's going to be 115 seconds. So he's going to be stationary 5 seconds longer as we look again at the start. Sven Bart was getting quite racy in towards turn 1, going 3 abreast. We had those lockups. That's quite a downhill section there as they go into the pinch point of turn 1, and then round to this kind of windy section around turns 3 and 4 and 5, and then it's back out onto the tri-oval. There's another look at that first turn, and BWT Mucker car with Max Anglard at the wheel, just going backwards on those that opening section. I was going to talk about the pit stop. So the number 18 car, Mattis Plushko, Max Anglard, they are both silver pilots, so they'll have a minimum pit stop time of 110 seconds. More lockups coming along. Michael Herrick, he's a bronze-rated driver, along with Alex Christensen. Their minimum pit stop time will be 100 seconds, so they will potentially gain 15 seconds on the pit stop on some of the cars around them. And then Thomas Ambiel, he is a solo bronze-rated driver. His minimum pit stop time has a 0 handicap, so he will have just a 90-second minimum pit stop time. So the guy that's currently running in 8th place, Thomas Ambiel, has a pit stop time that will be 25 seconds less than many of the cars around him. We have to add in the number 18 car, has an additional 6 seconds on account of winning last time out. I've already mentioned the number 2 car, Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov, have an additional 4 seconds, and an additional 2 seconds to Riccardo Cirelli and Matthias Jakobsen. So that's all the parish notices done and dusted. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, well, check out the website, either ADAC Prototype Cup Germany or the Creventic website. Creventic, who along with the ADAC organised this wonderful championship. The drivers running the old LMP3 chassis, the entry-level prototype, was launched in 2015 as a way of introducing young drivers and new teams to endurance racing, and has been succeeded now by both the engine and the chassis, but this is the old format, and we're getting some life out of these old cars yet as we look at our race leader. So Danny Sufi, well, he's pushing hard. I think you can see that, the smoke rising up into the air, and he needs to just keep it on the track. At the moment, Valentina Catalana is in second, 4.017 last time around. So out of turn 12 we come, the growl of the engine, and we'll see whether that gap has increased or decreased. 4.017 last time around. Across the line comes Valentina Catalana, 4.222. So Sufi has opened up the gap just a little bit. Danny Sufi, who comes originally from Texas in America, funnily enough, now currently resides in Dortmund, very much part of the fixtures and fittings at the legendary Conrad Motorsports garage. He was working there for a while, but very much on the ascendancy, looking to push his way up the prototype ladder, if possible, but very adaptable, a driver who has in the past raced in LMP3, then stepped out and gone straight into a GT4 car, as we see Matthias Jakobsen locking up, looking down at the number 8 car in third place. We saw that blue smoke rising up into the air. So I'm mentioning our race leader, Danny Sufi, and he is very, very quick, and we proved that over the winter because he took part in the Prototype Winter Series in the beginning of this year, and he took part in 8 races. He won 7 of them, and he came second in the other. I mean, I don't know what happened in the other. I mean, who knows? But a very, very strong pilot indeed, and that is why he's leading the championship. That is why he's leading the race, and with the co-pilot Pavel Lefterov, who we'll see a bit of a little bit later on, a really, really strong combination. Right, out across the line we come. Sufi leading, Valentina Catalana in second, Matthias Jakobsen in third place. Now look at this, the fight for fourth. Sven Bart, a very experienced driver. We've seen him in GT racing, we've seen him in GT Masters over the years. He was 9th in last year's championship, and has been very much part of the German motor racing scene. He was in GT Masters from 2013 to 2019. We saw him originally in Formula 3 Germany. Another lockup. The smoke rising up as the cars are all locking up around each other, just struggling for the traction. But Sven Bart in that 4th place. But keep an eye on Zeno Volker just behind him. He is making his debut this weekend in the Prototype Cup Germany in LMP3 racing, and this is his first race. We saw him in the Prototype Winter Series with a guest start. He did 2 races, he got a 5th and a 2nd, so we know he's good. And I have to say, Conrad Motorsport, who do a wonderful job encouraging these drivers, would not put him in that seat if he wasn't, and he's proven that. So look at the 18 car of Max Angelard getting a bit of a slider on, coming out of the corner. He gathers it all up. But these things, I'm told, can get away from you very, very quickly. So very critical to keep them all pointing in the right direction. At the moment, Sven Bart using all of his experience to keep the number 22 car behind him. But of course, remember that Zeno Volker will have that extended pit stop when the pit window opens. So he will want to get past Sven Bart as soon as possible and clear off up the road, because Sven Bart, along with Maxim Dirks, should I say, will have that 5-second shorter pit stop. Another lockup. The bumpy surface really challenging the drivers, and what a place to make your debut for Zeno Volker. He's a guest. So one of the cars going slowly, and that is the number 1, is Mikael Herrick. Now that's a shame. So I don't know what's happened there. Now where is he? You can hear the engine is running. He's up on turn 4, I think. But if he can't get that car to safety, we may well see a full course yellow. Now, it looks like he might have lost the engine, and now he's refired it up again. So He's able to rejoin, so I don't think we're going to get any dramas as of yet. Danny Sufi continues. What's his lead looking like now over Valentina Catalana? A little over 4.5 seconds. So Sufi certainly stamping his authority on this race and certainly staking his claim on the championship. There's third place, and Matthias Jakobsen from Denmark, another of the young and up-and-coming chargers here in Prototype Cup Germany. He got 3 podiums in his first 4 races in this series. The first 4 races that we've seen, 3 podiums. He got a 4th place in the other one. So very, very useful. Knows his way around one of these cars, even though he's on his debut in LMP3 this year. He got a couple of 4th places in the Prototype Cup in the Prototype Winter Series, should I say. But he's actually come from open wheel racing in 2024. He was the Nordic Formula 4 champion. In 23, Formula 4 CZ. And he's also been in Formula 4 Denmark. Right, well, it looks like the #1 car, Michael Herrich, has got back up to speed. So I don't know what happened there. It sounded like he may have lost the engine briefly, but he's up and running again. There's Sven Bart in 4th place. And he looks to have shaken off Zino Folker for the time being. Feeling Zino's not done yet. Driver that we're really looking forward to seeing on his guest appearances. Hopefully, we're going to see him a few more times this year. Out along the pit straight they come. He ducks out of the slipstream, has a little look to the inside, but not close enough to do anything about it. But Max Angelard in 6th place, just behind, in the pink BWT Motorsport Duquesne, very much keeping him in sight. And Max Angelard, along with Mattis Plushko, took their first ever win in Prototype Cup Germany. Last time out, race 2 at Hockenheim. They have also finished 3 times on the podium out of 4 races. So clearly very, very useful indeed behind the wheel of one of these cars. Now, putting that experience to good use. Remember, this is Zino Folker's first ever race in Prototype Cup Germany. He's only done a couple of LMP3 races in the past. These are really tough cars to drive at the best of times, but on a surface that is as bumpy as this, Sven Bart just goes a little bit wide, chucks a bit of dirt into the air. In a circuit that is as bumpy as this, where ground effect is so important, you really have to be on top of your game. Certainly, we've seen a few races here over the years where we've had a number of safety cars and full course yellows. And I'm hoping we're not going to get that here, because we're really enjoying here in the evening sunshine at the Lausitzring as we enjoy race 5 of the season. There is 3rd place going through. Right, here we go again. Zino Folker in 5th place. Just behind him continues to be Max Angelard. Max keeping him very much inside, but catching him is one thing. Finding a route past is quite another. Remember, the engines on these cars are all identical. Zino Folker is running a Ligier JSP 320, whereas Max Angelard is in a Duquesne D08, but powered by exactly the same power plant. And just looking for the route pass, very much relying on talent and skill. There is no great advantage between the drivers here. Both drivers very new to this. Zino certainly is the case. Behind them is Thomas Ambiel in the number 33 car. He's some 24.6 seconds back at the moment, but that may all change once the pit window opens. The pit window opens when there is 33 minutes to go, so in exactly 5 minutes from now the pit window will open, and it'll be that 10-minute window. So the drivers that are going to make changes are the #1 car, Michael Herrich, assuming it gets to the pit window. He'll be handing over to Alexander Christensen. Matthias Jakobsen will be handing over to Riccardo Cirelli. Max Angelard will be handing over to Mattis Plushko. And Valentina Catalano will be handing over to Mikkel C. Johansson. All the other drivers are solo drivers. They will still have to come in. They will still have to remain stationary. They'll get an additional stationary time because they are solo drivers. But they will then rejoin the race in exactly the same seat that they started in. So a bit of a mixture in pairings, in strategy, apologies. And the pit window always shakes things up a bit. So the drivers, number 1 is one of the bronze, and 33. Those are the 2 cars that are going to have a bit of an advantage in the pits. So the number 1 car will have a 10-second, 100-second pit stop, 10 seconds and 15 seconds less than some. And Thomas Ambulan, the 33 car, he's the one who's going to gain 25 seconds on those cars around him. He's currently 26 seconds back from the lead. So if he can just keep things very much as they are now, and if he can keep that gap, he's going to be somewhere near the leaders once the pit sequence is over. But Thomas, who's done a great job, he's taken a win this year, remember, for Rinaldi Racing, but he is a bronze-rated driver. The FIA, who rate the drivers depending on experience, what they've raced in the past, what they've achieved. It's a very carefully graded system, and very much aimed so that it caters for both professional and amateur drivers. Great view down from turn 5 towards turn 6. That's quite a steep drop into there. You could see Zino Folker just closing in on Sven Bart under braking. Sven, who drives that car, which has an amazing livery. If you're ever at one of these events, really worth checking close up. Out past the water they come towards turn 8. You see the bumps, you can see the cars bouncing around. This circuit is not used that many times, certainly not for racing in a year. Here is part of the DTM package. And Prototype Cup Germany now part of the DTM package for the rest of this season. The next 3 rounds after this, all part of the DTM package. So a much bigger shop window, some bigger audiences, bigger opportunities to promote and sell the talent of these young drivers. There's Matthias Jakobsen just coming through into turn 1, well clear of Sven Bart. Zino Folker in that sandwich. Max Angelard just behind him. Our race leader having a lonely race. That's kind of exactly what he would want, I would expect. Danny Sufi, 5.257 ahead of Valentina Catalano. So, when the pit sequence is done, there will be that 5-second difference. So, if the pit sequence happened now and they emerged, the 2 cars would be about 2/10 apart, which is why Danny Sufi needs to go like the clappers as soon and as far as he can in this race. But he looks to have it under control. Part of Conrad Motorsport, that's a name, particularly for those who follow German racing will know, is a legendary team. It was formed and founded by Franz Conrad back in 1976. And of course, Conrad has won the German Formula 3 Championship, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, the European GT Championship, numerous other things. The team has won Nürburgring 24, competed in the World Sports Car Championship, in IMSA GT Championship. The list goes on, including Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany and Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup. So legendary team, now very much encouraging the young drivers. And what a talent they've found in Danny Sufi, and indeed in Zino Folker, who is doing a sterling job on his debut in Prototype Cup Germany, still holding off the attentions of Max Angelard, who drives for another legendary name, the BWT Mucker Motorsport team. And originally formed by Peter Mucker, and more smoke rising up. The flat spots on these tyres must be starting to accumulate. The pit window is about to open in about 5 seconds. No tyre changes allowed. They need to go the distance on these tyres. So if you're locking them up and you're putting flat spots on them, the vibrations that rattle through the car are going to be there when the clock strikes 0. So no tyre changes. Of course, there were no tyre warmers, hence all the weaving and lockups. Right, peeling off into the pits. Early stop for Max Angelard. So Mattis Plushkul will be limbering up in the pit lane, and he will be getting ready to take over the number 18 car. So Mattis Plushkul, and I mentioned it already, he is Very prolific, was very prolific at last year's ADAC GT4 Germany series. Came originally from the ADAC Tourenwagen Junior Cup, had 5 wins from 12 races in that, so that says what his pedigree is like. So that is the only car to come in at the moment. So Max Anglard's work is done for the day. The Polish driver pops out of the car on the right-hand side, takes his seat insert. No hurry at all. 110 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. So there is Mattis Plushko. Remember, he was, if you do follow GT4 Germany, he had Luca Bosco as his co-pilot in GT4 last year. They were spectacular, to say the least. I've been very excited. The moment we saw that Mattis Plushko had signed up for this series, I was really pleased. He still remains within the BWT Muka Motorsport family. He was in the same team in GT4 Germany last year, so this potentially the next step up the ladder as he works his way forwards. Now getting buckled in, a very limited, very regulated pit stops. You're not allowed to have lots of team members. Don't really need team members, to be quite honest, out in the pit lane. Right, another one into the pits. So here we go. The Conrad Motorsport crew will be on standby because it is Zeno Folker who comes in. He is a solo driver, so this is going to feel a little bit painful. I expect they've done the calculations so that they'll get him back out, hopefully onto a bit of open track where he can make hay while the sun shines, so to speak, and try and maybe undercut Sven Bart, who remains out on track at the moment. So Zeno Folker has the maximum length of pit stop that is around 115 seconds as he comes to a stop. Doesn't need to get out of the car. He can open the door and get some air in if he wants, but that's about as far as it goes. So no driver change there. The obligatory wash and shine. Do with that on my road car. Make sure, seriously, we're late in the afternoon, you're running into the sun in places. Having a clear windscreen, really important. These screens with the sun shining on them can be difficult to see through. Right, number 1 in, Mikael Herrick handing over to Alex Christensen, the driver from Zimbabwe. Really good to have him here. Looking forward to seeing what Alex Christensen he was in the 2024 Gebhardt Ginetta GT5 Challenge. In fact, he was the champion. Has raced in there since 2020, where he got 2nd place. He guested in the next-gen cars. That's something very different. The electric mini cars, guested in them last year at Hockenheimring, and he's also been in the V8 Thunder cars. In comes Sven Bart. So Maxim Dirks will be limbering up in the wings. He'll be getting ready to jump into the wheel. There is Maxim, seat insert in hand. Maxim, another talented driver. He got his best result last year was a 4th place. Seemed to caught a bit of bad luck. Great to see the handshake as they swap over, and then it is the turn of Maxim Dirks to jump into the Aust Motorsport car. Of course, Aust, another legendary name as we continue to monitor Danny Sufi. He's still got to come in and make his stop. So Sven Bart has handed over to Maxim Dirks. Mikael Herrick handing over to Alexander Christensen. Zeno Folker handing over to himself. And Max Angard handing over to Mattis Plushko. We enjoy the roar of these cars as they head along the pit straight. Now peeling off into the pit lane, the number 8 car. So that is Matthias Jakobsen, who will be handing over to Riccardo Cirelli, yet another of the drivers who impressed last year, has impressed this year. 3 podiums in 4 races. And of course, running for BWT Muka Motorsport, slightly unusual color scheme. We normally associate pink with BWT Muka, but with the additional sponsorship now on the car, more of a red look. Windhager, the best heating technology connected with the BWT sponsorship as well. So out of the car gets Matthias Jakobsen, the Danish driver. Can retire back to the garage and watch as Riccardo Cirelli takes over the driving duties. Danny Sufi continues out. Valentina Catalana. So the 1-2 At the moment, Sufi has 5.171 on Valentina Catalana, who peels off into the pits. So Catalana is done. Car number 1 under investigation for a pit stop infringement. So Alexander Christensen might be having an issue with the steward, or indeed Mikael Herrick. So in comes Valentina Catalana. So Mikkel C. Johansson, another driver from Denmark, will be waiting to take over from the current reigning champion of Prototype Cup Germany. We saw him take the emotional win along with Marcus Palmer and Valentina Catalana, I would just say, who has been winning in so much. We've been watching him in IMSA LMP3 Championship this year. He leads that championship, tends to win in pretty well everything he gets involved in. So his stint is done for the time being. Well, certainly for today, and he'll be back tomorrow to do stint number 2 in that car. So Mikkel C. Johansson will now bring it home, and then he will qualify the car for tomorrow's race. Danny Sufi remains out on track. He's got a wide open track in front of him. One would suggest, why would you come in and potentially exit in amongst traffic when you don't need to? The team will be looking. He continues out for another lap. As long as he's across the pit entrance before the clock strikes 0, there will be no issues. So I think Danny Sufi, along with Conrad Motorsport, just maximising that nice big open track in front of him. Listen to the roar of that car. Out onto the pit straight he will come once again. Nobody in front, nobody behind. That's kind of an ideal scenario for him at the moment into turn 1. Of course, you come in for that pit stop, and if you are staying in the seat, it does interfere with your rhythm a little bit. The tyres will cool down while he is stationary in the pits for what is 5 seconds short of 2 minutes. And then he's got to get back into the rhythm and get the tyres back up to temperature. So it's not all over until it's over. But at the moment, Danny Sufi doing all that he needs to do. We can see that everybody has pitted bar 2 at the moment. Looking, number 8 car, Matthias Jakobsen, is still in the pit. So it looks like we might have an issue, because I think he's been, I'm looking to see whether he's been in for longer than he should have been. Yes, he has. So he's been in for much longer than he should have been. So clearly there is an issue there. Now peeling off into, no, he's into the pits. Yes, he is. So Danny Sufi now coming into the pit lane. Thomas Ambiel as well, giving him a bit of a squeeze as they come into the pits. So Ambiel was another of the drivers that hadn't pitted. Now everybody who should have is or has pitted, but a lively moment in the pit lane. Danny Sufi just catching Thomas Ambiel at exactly the wrong time. Won't be an issue from here on, because Ambiel will have a significantly shorter pit stop than Danny Sufi, a 25-second shorter pit stop than Danny Sufi. But I'm just looking down at the number 8 car. What a shame, because Matthias Jakobsen, who's handing over to Riccardo Cirelli, and I think there is an issue with the car. Right, this was a replay. Did they actually make contact? Certainly a little puff of smoke rising up into the air, and that is under investigation by stewards. So they might decide to take some action on that. Thomas Ambiel in the number 33 car. There is Danny Sufi, who hands over to Pavel Lefterov. So Pavel into the car, and Danny opening the Lefterov door of the car. Thank you. To wish him good luck. And so the wait as the time ticks down. 115 seconds, remember. Got to get used to whether Danny Sufi is solo or with another driver. He was originally listed for this event as being a solo driver, but Pavel Lefterov has accompanied him in all of the rounds so far. So here comes the car of number 80, Mikkel C. Johansson, out onto the pit straight. Remember, his pit stop was shorter, so the number 2 car is rolling out into the pit lane, and I think he's going to rejoin well ahead of Mikko C. Johansson. So pit strategy looks to have worked really well. There is the #1 car of Alexander Christensen, who is down in 7th place at the moment, getting clear of that. I just double-checked the notes, because I say, originally, Danny Sufi was being listed as a solo driver in this race, and now Pavel Lefterov has been added. We expected Pavel to be the co-driver of that car, because he was there for the first 4 races of the season, so I've just double-checked that that was the case. But yes, Pavel Lefterov certainly is the man at the wheel of the car that takes over the lead, and well clear of Mikko C. Johansson in the number 80 car. So you can see they rejoined pretty well. And same little bit of real estate here on turn 1 into turn 2. And I think that there might have been, now car 1 has a pit stop infringement, so that means that any challenge for Christensen, I mean, he's down in 7th at the moment, means he's going to have to visit the penalty box. So that is a box that is painted on the track on the exit of turn 5, and he's going to have to pass through that at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. That's Matis Plushkul doing a bit of rallycross. He's in 5th place at the moment. That gravel, going through that, you can do all sorts of damage to the car. He's done well just to keep it pointing in the right direction. So Matis Plushkul, remember, he's quite new to this. He was driving a Mercedes-AMG GT4 car this time last year, right into the penalty box. That's looks like the wrong side of the penalty box to me for the #1 car of Alexander Christensen. So I'm not sure whether that's classed as passing through the penalty box as not. So I think he went the wrong side of it. But the penalty lap for a pit stop infringement, it's meant to do the equivalent of adding 5 seconds to the lap time. Might have added more than that, but the stewards might decide that he didn't take that properly, and he might be asked to serve that again. We'll see what happens there, but you saw him kind of realise he'd gone the wrong side of the penalty box and cutting back into it. He very kindly gets out of the way of the cars coming through, so no issues there. So with the pit window done, confusion reigns. It is Pavel Lefterov who leads the way by 10.386 seconds. So I do beg your pardon if I gave a extra 5 seconds pit stop to Danny Sufi, because, as I say, he was listed as a solo driver originally, so he didn't have that 5-second disadvantage that he was originally listed as having. So Pavel Lefterov leads the way, Mikko C. Johansson in 2nd, Maxim Dirks after the pit stop sequence up into 3rd place, Zeno Folker doing a sterling job in 4th, ahead of Matis Plushkul, who had that moment across the gravel. Then Thomas Ambiel in the 33 car, ahead of Alexander Christensen, who had that penalty lap. And now he takes it again, I think, going through it there. So he took it properly this time. So that's effectively been a double penalty for him. And then still the number 8 car in the pits. That is such a shame. So Matthias Jakobsen, who shares the Riccardo Cirelli, they finished on the podium in 3 of the 4 races this season, but this is going to be a DNF, I think. They're 5 laps down in the pits, clearly a mechanical issue. Let's have a look again at the number 1 car. So he came out of, and which turn is this? So that's just making way for Maxim Dirks to come through. Here's our race leader, 13.9 seconds clear. 5 seconds more than I thought he was going to have. Then Maxim Dirks in 3rd place, 6.3 seconds back. Zeno Folker in 4th place, ahead of Matis Plushkul. Then Thomas Ambiel. Then Alexander Christensen. And then, of course, the number 8 car, which would have been Riccardo Cirelli, which remains in the pits. So 18 minutes and 20 seconds plus 1 lap remaining of this race. Certainly, Pavel Lefterov looks to have this under control. The double visit to the penalty box for Alexander Christensen now being served. So the positions they are on the track is where they are meant to be as we look at Pavel Lefterov. To remind you, coming into this race, he and Danny Sufi were leading the points championship. If things finish as they are now, they will extend that lead. Second in the championship, Max Anglard and Mattis Plushko currently in 5th place. Hopefully, Plushko hasn't damaged the car as a result of that excursion. I don't think he has. We look from our leader and we look across there to 2nd place. So the gap is building up significantly. Mikkel C. Johansson doesn't appear to have the legs to keep up with the leader. Still plenty of time to go on this though. There's Maxim Dirks in the really pretty looking car. Out onto the pit straight he comes. Zeno Folker behind him. 4th place at the moment on his debut. Really solid job in that car there. The number 22. Mattis Plushko is next. You've got the back marking car of Alexander Christensen in between them. Listen to the growl of those engines as they come out onto the tri-oval. The flashing of the lights from Mattis Plushko just to let Christensen know that he wants to come through. Christensen will certainly, I'd think, make some space to allow himself to come through because he is a lapped car now. Mattis Plushko will no doubt have had a bit of the frighteners as a result of that moment earlier. Doesn't look as though he's done any damage though, so that's all good news. 16 minutes remaining of this race. Trying to leave some space so you can hear the growl of these engines out along the pit straight. So Mikkel C. Johansson, 2nd place now with Maxim Dirks just half a second behind him. So Maxim Dirks looking to challenge for 2nd place here. We've seen Maxim in the past. His best results so far in Prototype Cup Germany has been a couple of 4th places. He's never finished on the podium before. Last year, he said if it wasn't for bad luck, he wouldn't have had any luck at all. This year, looking really dialed in here. And with Sven Bartz as his co-driver, already in a podium position. Can he find a route past Mikkel C. Johansson in the number 80 car and get it up into 2nd place? You know he's going to be trying really, really hard here. Out towards turn 8 they come. Through on the inside, a little puff of smoke. And job done. Maxim Dirks goes sailing through and into 2nd place. Relegating the number 80 car of Mikkel C. Johansson down into 3rd. Out onto the final turn. And you can see how quickly Dirks has opened up that gap as they come along past the pits. And it's Dirks in that 2nd place. So what can he do about Pavel Lefterov? The gap between 1st and 2nd, a monstrous 22.639. So I'd suggest that perhaps without an issue for Pavel Lefterov, as we look again at this fight for the 2nd place, teeny little lock-up of the brakes, no dramas though. But without an issue for Pavel Lefterov, I think this is about as far as Maxim Dirks is going to go. But I think he might be pretty chuffed with that. Picking up a 1st podium. And now Zeno Folker as well. Through on the inside, a little lock-up, the puff of blue smoke. So on his debut, Zeno Folker now into a podium position, relegating Mikkel C. Johansson, who took over from front row starter Valentino Catalano, who's subbing for Oscar Tunyo. That's a replay here, and you can just see on the brakes the plumes of blue smoke. But Zeno Folker, on his debut in Prototype Cup Germany, guesting here this weekend and loving it as he gets through into a podium position. Now, Mikkel C. Johansson has Mattis Plushkul second in the championship, tracking him down. You get the feeling Plushkul might make short work of this. Out along the pit straight they come, in towards turn one, picking up the slipstream. He ducks to the outside, sells the dummy, back to the inside, under braking. Can he slow it down? Yes, he can. Mattis Plushkul through into fourth place. And Mikkel C. Johansson relegated another position down into fifth. Thomas Ambiel quite a long way back from this battle. So I think Johansson fairly solid in that fifth place with 12.5 minutes remaining. Another look here. And Mattis Plushkul, who's taken to LMP3 racing, has been so excited about this over the winter months as he's prepared for this. Has taken to it so well. The next step on the ladder as he moves up in his career. Lefterov leading the way still, 22.882. Maxim Duric looking for his first podium. Zeno Folker looking for his first podium on debut. Mattis Plushkul looking to close in on the championship, but that is not going to happen if Lefterov stays exactly where he is now. Out across the line we come once again. The gap now to 23.184. Lefterov not looking like he's faltering at all. You get the feeling that Zeno Folker might fancy moving up a step on the podium. Maxim Dirks, the more experienced of the two. The driver from Antwerp, studying business. Originally came from karting. His father, Johan, has a workshop for vintage Porsches. I'm told that is something to behold. And Maxim, who originally was on the route to become a footballer. And I think he had a choice. Was it going to be football or motorsport? Well, he made the right decision, didn't he? Currently lying in second place in this, the fifth race of the season for a Prototype Cup Germany. Pavel Lefterov didn't even know he was here till about 20 minutes ago, alongside Danny Sufi in that car. And out across the line he comes once again. So it was 23 last time around, now 23.6, so about another 3/10. So Maxim Dirks is not making any inroads. Look at the gap between first and second. Pavel has time to stop and grab a drink and still come out in the lead. And here comes second place now, Maxim Dirks. Zeno Folker closing in. What is the gap? So it was 1.5, now 1.2. So Zeno has taken 3/10 out of that second place. And I don't think Mattis Plushkul is done yet either. 1.891 between Zeno Folker and Mattis Plushkul. Mikkel C. Johansson some 4.344 seconds back. So not part of this battle. Listen to that roar as they come out of turn 5 and in towards turn 6. Another lock up there. This is for Zeno Folker. He's had a few of those. I should think there's going to be a few vibrations going through the steering wheel of the Conrad Motorsport Ligier JS P320. As a replay, that's a big lockup. And of course, the flat spot on the tyres, every time that goes round, it will vibrate. Puts pressure, not just on the driver, but on suspension components. And apart from anything else, it allows the car in front to break clear. Maxim Dirks, 1.254 clear of Zeno Folker. Taking immense skill to pilot these around here at the Lausitzring. So about a 1/10 of a second increase between second and third. Mattis Plushkul homing in on Zeno Folker in that third place. Time starting to run out here, heading towards 8.5 minutes, plus 1 lap of racing. So the graphic has just changed to Danny Sufi. I'm sure I saw Pavel getting in. The number 2 car leads the way. There's my summary of the situation. You can understand how easily I get confused, can't you? So I know the graphic has suddenly switched to Danny Sufi. Pretty sure it was Pavel Lefterov at the wheel. TBC. Maxim Dirks in second place. We know that's him. We saw him getting in for sure. Zeno Folker, well, he's not sharing with anybody. That's definitely him in the number 22 car. Manis Plushkal in the number 18 car, having taken over from Max Angelard. Oh, we've gone back again. Right, it is Pavel Lefterov. Can confirm. That's my excuse. Right, here we come. The 22 car once again. Here we go. Third place, Zeno Folker. Maxim Dirks just ahead of him. Look at this. Second, third, fourth. Out along past the pits. Already, Matis Plushkal. He's doing the old flashing the lights trick. Trying to get Zeno Folker, the least experienced of the three drivers, to maybe glance at the mirror at the very point he should be hitting the braking point. And Matis would be quite happy if he went a little bit wide, a little bit deep, and he could come sailing through. But Zeno Folker proving himself to be a superstar of the future, if not indeed the present. Just keeping it all together. Zeno, who was racing karts until 2023. So this really has been a steep ascendancy through the sport. And hopefully this performance will get sponsors taking notice of all these drivers, all looking for sponsorship, all looking for backing so they can do full seasons in the future and they can move up the ladder. As I mentioned already, in 23, Zeno Folker was also doing the ADAC Tourenwagen Junior Cup. That's well worth watching. The VW Ups. That's lively racing if ever I saw it. Right, here comes Maxim Dirks. Out onto the pit straight once again. Less than 6.5 minutes remaining of this race. Second, third and fourth well clear of fifth place, Mikkel C. Johansson. Thomas Ambiel in sixth place, some way back. And Alexander Christensen in seventh. And again, just to confirm, we've lost to Matthias Jakobsen. Riccardo Cirelli didn't even get to sit in the seat of the car as far as I'm aware, and that is such a shame. Very disappointing, but the team will get to work on that. He will be back tomorrow, and Riccardo Cirelli will be the driver who will qualify the number 8 car. The fight for the last of the podium positions. Can Zeno Folker take away a trophy on his first ever attempt? What a feat that would be. I've never even sat in one of these cars, not to mention try to drive one, but I am told they are tough. And with the vibrations, it rattles your fillings, if you have any. It certainly rattles your brains over the bumpiness here at the Lausitzring. It's a great circuit, but fairly old surface on it. And you can see the cars bouncing around like pebbles. And then takes a bit of courage as you're giving it full beans along this long stretch in towards turn 1, up against the concrete walls. I have to tell you, they don't move. You want to stay away from them into turn 1. Quite a downhill dip there, much more than you can perceive on a TV picture. And then this fairly narrow, windy section of turn 3 and 4 before you get back out onto the tri-oval. Try and get out as wide as to the wall as you can. Well, Manis Plushkal did, didn't he? Need to have scuff marks on the paintwork. Another lock-up in front, and that was Maxim Dirks this time. The puff of blue smoke doesn't seem to have slowed him down in another downhill bit there towards turn 6 and turn 7. Some track repairs had to take place there yesterday after the truck racing that's also here this weekend managed to lift part of the curbing. Then a little straight towards turn 8. Keep it out the gravel. That gravel's very deep there, can confirm. It's turn 9. Past the pit entry that's on turn 10. And then out of turn 11, you'll want to get on the power as early as possible. Get out as wide as you can to the wall. And then out onto turn 12 on the pit straight. And there's another lockup. This time, Mikkel C. Johansson. There's going to be a lot of 50p shaped tyres doing the rounds after this race, aren't there? Out along the pit straight, having come out from the wall, then ducking back in past the pits. And Matis Plushkal now having caught up with Zeno Folker. Can Zeno draw on all his concentration, all the skill that he has to fend off a 3 times podium finisher this year in the shape of Matis Plushkul. Can Zeno take away a podium position on his debut in Prototype Cup Germany? I believe only his 3rd ever race in an LMP3 car after the 2 that he did over the winter. He's certainly going to give it a shot, isn't he? 2 3/4 minutes remaining. Our leader currently up on turn 12. So I think a couple more laps. Here comes our leader. Very much a lonely race for Pavel Lefterov, just getting on with it. He left her off the rest of them in his dust. Oh, these puns are going to come all season long, aren't they? I'm so sorry. Here comes the 2nd place. Not quite yet. Maxim Dirks. There he is. Zeno Folker behind. 2 1/4 minutes remaining. So 24.5 seconds. I'd say crushing is the word I would use to describe it. Of course, it ain't over until it's over. We've got 2 minutes plus 1 lap. Still got to bring it home. The car's still got to go the distance. Don't think Comrade Motorsport cars are famous for breaking down. Pavel's not famous for putting it in the gravel trap. So Maxim Dirks can only hope and cross his fingers. He's going to be quite happy that Zeno Folker has got Matis Plushkul for company, because it means that if Folker tries to challenge his 2nd place, he risks bumping himself from the podium. So a lap around here, about 1 minute 20 seconds. So I'm just looking to see whether Lefterov is going to get to the line before the clock strikes 0. I don't think he is. Looking now to see. So Lefterov just out on the pit straight at the moment. Not sure whether he crossed the line before the clock struck 0 or not. So 1 minute and 5 seconds of timed racing remaining. Out onto the pit straight we come. I've had no indication that this is the final lap. Didn't see when he crossed the line. So if this is, the clock still had time on it before Lefterov crossed. Sorry, I beg your pardon. The 1 minute 20 before he crossed the line, then it will be this lap plus the 1 more after that. So 35 seconds, 34. So he's up in turn 8. So I think the clock should strike 0 before he crosses the line. We will see. Looking again at a replay. It's been a long day. Another lockup for Maxim Dirks. How many lockups have we had in this race? But they've kept it all on the grey stuff, haven't they? Right, here we come. Now I can tell you whether he'll cross the line before the clock strikes 0. So here he comes, out across the line. So I think he crossed the line first. No indication that it would be the last lap. No, it is. So the clock did strike 0 before he crossed the line. So this is the final lap for Pavel Lefterov. I think this has been long for you. There's Maxim Dirks in the background. Long, long way in the background. 26.2 seconds back. Looking to have it covered off. Zeno Folker in 3rd. Has Matis Plushkul got anything left on this, the final lap of the race? It truly is. Around to turn 3 and 4. And then on to turn 5. But I get the feeling that Plushkul is not going to be able to do anything about Zeno Folker unless Zeno makes some kind of a mistake. Onto the tri-oval they come. Plushkul's not done yet though, is he? Look at that, a lock-up also from Maxim Dirks. Needs to keep the concentration because Folker is close, ready to pounce. He gathers it all up. Maxim Dirks looking for his 1st ever podium in Prototype Cup Germany. He's up close at the moment. Our race leader is into turn 12. So it's going to be Pavel Lefterov and Danny Sufi who cross the line to take a win, their 2nd win of the season. And now we've got quite a wait for Maxim Dirks. So the gap, and there is a spin. No, is that Zina Folker on the very last lap has lost it. After doing all the hard work, Zina Folker from third place has lost it. He's spun the car, and I think Mattis Plushko is going to come through to take the last of the podium positions. Oh, he'll be kicking himself for that. So Zina Folker did all the hard work, and on the very last lap of the race, the Conrad Motorsport car is pointing in the wrong direction, and it is another podium. Now, was there contact between Mattis Plushko and Zina Folker? Now, that is the question. Yes, there was. So Plushko making a move for that position. There was contact between the two cars, and I think the stewards might want to have a look into that. Folker is able to continue, so he's brought it home in fourth place. There was a gap on the inside for Mattis Plushko, but then Folker closed the door. Now that was up on turns 10 and 11. So it really was the latter part of the last race. The Conrad Motorsport crew, well, they've celebrated the win from Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov, but what was looking like a 1-3 for Conrad Motorsport has become a 1-4, but the stewards are taking a look at it. So they will decide whether Plushko had got an advantage and had won the place already, and whether Zino Folker had closed the door, or they will decide whether that was unjust from Mattis Plushko. We'll keep an eye on it. As things stand at the moment, is Mattis Plushko in third place. There is Franz Conrad. Yes. So what a celebration that is going to be for him, because Danny Sufi taking his fourth win in Prototype Cup Germany, along with Pavel Lefterov, Sven Bart, Max Dirks in second place, Max Angelard and Mattis Plushko in third. There's your 1, 2, 3. Zino Folker recovering for fourth place ahead of Valentina Catalana, Mikkel C. Johansson, Thomas Ambiel in sixth ahead of Mikael Herrick and Alexander Christensen, and then a non-finish for the number 8 car. So confusion reigns in the race pretty well throughout. But entertainment is, no doubt at all. Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov, the winners. A first ever podium that I can see for Maxim Dirks. His best being a couple of fourth places last year. Well, one last year, one the year before. He got a Zandvoort and Hockenheim. He got fourth place in both of those, along with Sven Bart, who has had a couple of fourth places. He's had 3 fourth places, in fact, so it'll be a first podium for Sven Bart as well in Prototype Cup Germany. So they'll be delighted about that. So solid driving from Pavel Lefterov and Danny Sufi. Good job indeed. Into Parc Ferme.
Let's go! Awesome job.
Well, now we know Pavel Lefterov is here because we've just seen him, and there we go. Sven Bart and Maxim Dirks finally getting that podium. I think Maxim Dirks was starting to be careful. He wasn't walking under ladders. Right, okay, update. A 10-second time penalty for Mattis Plushko. There is Zina Folker, because there has been a penalty awarded to the car that finished in third place. So Zina Folker regains that third place. Mattis Plushko, the stewards did get involved. Mattis Plushko and Max Angelard have been relegated back down to fourth place. A 10-second time penalty awarded. And Zino Folker, on his debut, gets the podium. It's a 1-3 for Conrad Motorsport. There's Danny Sufi on the right-hand side of your picture. Pavel Lefterov. What a combination they are turning out to be. And there is the third-place car, Zino Folker for Conrad Motorsport. On his debut in Prototype Cup Germany, picks up a trophy. A first-ever podium, too, for Maxim Dirks and Sven Bart. And you get the feeling there will be many more to come now in that very pretty and unique car. Please don't have to match that one up if there's bodywork that he's repairing. But what a dominant performance. Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov extend their championship lead for Conrad Motorsport, taking first place in race 5 of the season here at the Lausitzring. So Conrad Motorsport, what a job they've done preparing those cars. So Pavel Lefterov, the congratulations. We last saw Pavel on the ADAC scene back in 2023 in the GT4 Germany category.
We were trying to organize the pit stop around you guys.
Oh, really?
We ended up doing the exact same thing.
Sorry
it was
for being
okay.
disabled.
Oh, it's okay. No, good. Did you have fun? You have fun?
So it's Thomas Ambiel. So just listening in, Franz Conrad congratulating Thomas Ambiel, who is the winner in the trophy category, which is the bronze-rated category. So Zeno Volker on his debut to the third step of the podium. Maxim Dirks and Sven Bart. We've been waiting for this, and very well deserved. Danny Sufi, Pavel Lefterov to the top step of the podium for the second time this season. And for Danny Sufi, for the 4th time in Prototype Cup Germany. We can get Thomas Ambiel up as well, not sure. Yeah, here comes Thomas Ambiel, who was the winning driver in the trophy category. Just 2 cars in that. That was the Mikael Herich, Alexander Christensen one, and Thomas Ambiel in the other. So he wins in the trophy category. And then a representative from Conrad Motorsport. Oh, we're going to get the main man himself up. Franz Conrad, an utter legend. So the national anthem. So the national anthem for Conrad Motorsports. So 10 out of 10 for effort for Mattis Plushkul. He almost made it onto the podium. I think the stewards have the angles. They made the judgment call and decided that that move was a little bit optimistic. So the trophies are being presented. Of course, we were here for 3 races this time last year. Guido Kambach, project manager of Prototype Cup Germany, does a great job organising this championship. So last year, the winners were Marcus Pommer and Valentina Catalana, and Danny Sufi, along with Torsten Kratz, won the 2 last year. So with the trophies handed out, great, isn't it? What a big happy family. So we pause for the photos. What a healthy lead Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov will have. I will do the maths, but it's a big gap that they have at the lead of the championship as we head towards race 6, because after tomorrow, we will be at the halfway point of the season. And then after that, we have a very different kind of challenge for these drivers, because at the beginning of July, we're going to be heading to the Lausitzring. After that, we'll be at the Nürburgring, and it'll all come to a close at the Red Bull Ring in September. But we've still got one more race to go here at the Lausitzring. That will be tomorrow. It will be taking place at 10 to 5 local time. I do hope you're going to join us. I really hope you've enjoyed race 5 of the season for Prototype Cup Germany. We'll see you tomorrow for race 6.